It says we're live now.
Yay. Okay, cool. I'm going to check it on my phone. Hey, everybody, this is Jennifer. Not sure how this works because I've never been live on YouTube before, but it says that we're live. So I'm hoping that we are, but I'm going to double check while we're doing this so that, oh yeah, there it goes. Okay, so it shows that we're live, Kris. Yeah, I'm seeing that we're live on here. So I'm going to share this over to Facebook and hopefully that will help us get a few people coming in. You guys, I apologize. I don't like to do this, hey, live, and now I'm going to just talk for a while, but hopefully you guys can join us. And I have no idea how it works. I'm going to try to see if I can mute it maybe because it's playing. I'll just put mute and let it play and see what happens. Okay, that looks like it's going to work. So I think, I'm not sure, but I think I might even be able to see comments. So I'm going to share this out on Facebook for those of us that I had told we were going to go on Facebook. I'll let them know where we're at. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you that haven't been on my channel before, my name is Jennifer Lonnberg and I am a Christian psychic. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but I love Jesus. I grew up in church, but I've also always been very intuitive, very psychic. The only word that I knew to use for it was psychic. I didn't grow in a church where we talked about it being prophetic or having the gifts or things like that. So I didn't have a reference for it other than being psychic and Christian at the same time. So it's a really interesting dynamic for sure. But I've gotten to the place now where I really have embraced my own grace, my own gifts, my own understanding of what this gift really is. And I have to tell you guys, I don't know if I've ever told anybody this before, but Kris was my very first psychic reading. And it was so funny because she's known as the angel lady. And I walked by the thing. I was a little bit nervous going to the very first like psychic fair I'd ever been to. And I walked by her and I was like, okay, I'm drawn to that lady. And I thought, I'm just going to walk around again and feel it out. And I sat down and I think it was like the third pass where I finally was like, okay, I'm just going to sit down. Partly because I always avoided psychics because I was so afraid that if they saw me, they would know, because there's just something about those of us that have this gift, we recognize it in others, whether they even know it or not, we recognize it. And so I just knew that she knew that I was, but she was the one that I felt the safest with when I was at that fair. And so I love Kris. She's come to be a really good friend of mine instead of just the person that I got a reading from. Right. It's years and years now. And Kris, I just love you. And I want to just say thank you right off the bat for coming on with me today to talk about some of these things that are happening. I know some of it's really interesting to me how I'm seeing that there's controversy, there's anger, there's animosity, there's all of these things happening. And you and I both know, and we've talked about this, that there's something spiritual going on beneath the surface. Now, I've talked a little bit about COVID, not a lot. I think I've done only 2 like YouTubes about it. And I only give the information when spirit brings it to me. And so when I got those messages, I put it out there, but there's a lot also that I've been, I don't want to say holding back, but reluctant to share. And I think that's because there's just so much anger out there that you don't want to offend anybody, you know what I mean? And you're trying to make sure, like, I want to be very crystal clear on what the messages are, but I have heard from my guides that this is the tip of the iceberg. This whole COVID thing was just the tip of the iceberg. Now that was a few weeks ago. Obviously now we're still in lockdown. We're still doing all of these things. And so, I mean, there is so much more going on behind the scenes. So I wanted to just come on with you. First of all, before I forget, because we get to talking, Kris and I get to talking, and then we totally forget what we're doing. So I want to make sure you guys know if you want to get a reading from Kris, she's absolutely wonderful. I am actually booked out right now, so you can't get a reading with me until the end of May, beginning of June. So if you want a reading, check with Kris and see what she has available. And I will make sure that on my Facebook and under this YouTube, I'm not sure how it works when you go live. I'm assuming it will post. And so then I will make sure that you guys all have her information to get a hold of her. So that being said, Kris, thanks for coming on. I didn't know what to entitle our talk, so I just said the current energy and angel talk, because who knows what's going to come up when you and I get together, right?
Right.
So let's just dive in. I just want to hear kind of what's coming up right now as far as the energy and like what's going on. I know you and I both follow a couple of the same people. We mentioned we were chatting, of course, before we went live. And so we both have heard some things from Lee Harris. I haven't heard his latest thing. And then there was another lady that you said you followed that it correlated with what you and I have been talking about over the last couple months.
Right.
So let's just jump in.
Okay. I think the biggest thing, as you said earlier, is that we are having this spiritual awakening, and a lot of people are calling it the Great Awakening. But it is within a lockdown situation. We got to deal with ourselves, and in dealing with ourselves in the lockdown, you are seeing your shadow side, and that's a lot of that anger and that angst and all of that stuff of like, why is this happening to us? We feel more victim. We feel victimized, that we don't have
Mhm.
control. And then there's the other side of the saying, I did want a break. I did want this vacation. I didn't want a staycation.
Mhm.
However, with everything else, we are looking at the simple things. And I know that I think one of the things that Lee Harris did say is that all of 2020, we're going to have a deeper connection with nature. So
Mhm.
I know that you and I both talked about how nature is doing a major healing. And the bigger, like you said, the tip of the iceberg, a part of why this is going on is to help for our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, those that we leave to legacy, is a better Mother Earth. And of course, who's to say, weighing at the factors of the death that is happening. And I know that there's going to be a part of May, maybe into June, that we are dealing with some of that grief, that a part of it might have just been the numbers on the TV and we got numb to it. And I think we talked about that. But there's
Mhm.
always be that what I want to call rising of the heart energy. And we do have to go through grieving times. I personally have been affected by at least 6 people that I know that they have had deaths in their family due to this. So
Mhm.
and some people have never had, they're on their own little, I guess, way of thinking that this is not the way it should go. But you and I both also talked about that there's bigger things happening in the world. And I do see a future of goodness with the healthcare changes, the political changes, and the financial changes. But we got to get through it. And I think
Right.
it's not going to be a snap of the finger fix. It's not going to be just the month of June and July, which we have a lot of eclipse energies and slowdown stuff happening, but it's going to be maybe 2 to 3 years before we really see everything happening. But our hearts going into it and our collaboration as humanity is what's going to make the difference. I said a big mouthful. What else do you want to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say it's interesting that you're saying that because in my private the Facebook group, the membership groups that I have where we meet once a month together as a group, and then everybody has an individual call. All of those individual calls have been very interesting, and even the group. And the one thing that I told them, and again, this isn't something that I put out there publicly. I've kind of hinted that people need to be ready, kind of to experience this long term, but I have told them the same thing. And I know that's one thing you and I haven't talked about is that I think it's going to be at least a couple years before we
Yes,
really get through the full effects of this. And that's talking, I really feel like until 2024, like
yes,
we'll still be reverberating. It's almost like if you're at a pond or a lake and you throw a big old rock and it ripples, like we're going to be feeling the ripples for a while.
yes, we are. But it's interesting that if you have some of these changes happening, there's other changes in other systems. Like with the financial changes, banks will be shifting our loans to our, schools. It is like a mass amount in the United States with everybody owing money to colleges, okay, to the debt. The ideas of the schools changing. I mean, some people that are my friends that are homeschooling are saying, I'm not going to put my kids back to school. They learned more homeschooling. So our other systems, and then the hospitals, totally the hospitals have certainly changed in better preparation and having more care for all. Although we're still going through this, there is, what's happening in California is different than what's happening in New York. So, and what
Everywhere. Hmm.
versus what's happening in Italy. So it is going to take some time for us to go through this. But I think you and I also talked, and thank you. I don't think they knew that I took your 30-day challenge that we're still in, that self-care is going to be so important. And that's how nature comes in, that sometimes you just need to step outside and breathe and walk and allow you don't have to go be tree huggers or walk barefoot, but just having that time of allowing Mother Earth to heal you. And I know a lot of people love being around the water, and I hope that eventually the beaches do open up for all those on the coast. So,
Yeah, it's so funny that you're talking about my challenge because
Yeah.
I literally was not going to,
I know,
I
I
was
know.
not going to do it. I did, wasn't it like in February? I think I did a 10-day
Yep,
challenge. And
yep,
that's all I was going to do this year
yep.
was that 10-day challenge. I just did the videos. That's all I was going to do. And then my guides were like, you need to do the full challenge, the whole 30 days again in April. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I just did a 10-day challenge. And they're like, nope, do it again. And I literally was like laughing a couple
Mhm.
days ago about the day that we were on, because I'm like, this is exactly, I got delayed like 3 days or something, 4 days. And I'm like, it was on purpose because we're literally lining up with what was happening in the energy. So it's crazy to me how it's all lining up and how everything like is just, it's just been interesting.
Well, it
Like,
naturally
so
happens
much
for a
going on.
reason. And I've already done your challenge, I think 2 times before. And I was
Yeah.
guided, like, I need to join this. And what am
This
I
was
gonna
the third time I ran it. Yeah. So
I think
you would have.
I think this is the third with you because but this time you've actually done more videos that actually have been these little snippet 2 to 3 minutes that I
Mhm.
more I would say it would cater to the visuals. We all learn in different ways, whether it's hands-on or hearing or seeing. And so you've actually opened up the gates of allowing people to visually be connected with you. You might not have all gotten all of the what I want to call the feedback that you wanted, but I know that you personally can see how many people have seen you. So do
Yeah, I
you
was
know?
gonna say, and that's the thing. I know people are seeing it, but it's really intimidating to open up and be vulnerable on those kind of challenges in public,
Yes.
especially the work that you and I do. Like, it's not something that you can just always open up to everybody. So, but I know people are seeing it.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And I'm seeing that the truth is coming to the surface is the other little thing I wanted to say, that my truth of what I need to say to people, I can't like hide around the bush. I just blatantly, I don't know, I guess my friend says, Kris, if people want to come to you, you're speaking your truth bombs to them and you say it nice, but you still speak your truth. And I know you're
yeah.
the same way. But talk a little bit about what you've experienced, because I know we talked about the truth coming and having to shut out the negative people, the negative situations, because we've got to arise higher in the energy, or we could succumb to being that victim or poor pity me and join everybody in the party of I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm upset. But that doesn't help us manifest. You can only manifest in the positive energies.
Right.
So, what's your
So,
idea?
well, and you can manifest in negative energy, but it won't be
Oh,
positive experience.
exactly. I so
Manifest.
agree. So agree. Yeah.
So I was trying to look back through the post because it's really interesting. Whenever I did the January 2020 overview, I can
Mhm.
remember thinking, first of all, I've never really done that before, but I felt really led in January this year to do like a overall 2020, this is what to expect.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting. I'm trying to pull that back up because um I just feel like there is so much that I'm seeing. Here it is. I found it. So this is on my Patreon channel.
Mhm.
And this is, I'm just going to, because it's so relevant right now. And
Mhm.
so what my guide said back in January was that the term ignorance is bliss is
Yes.
no longer valid because we have to open our eyes to truth. And
Yes.
that there would be a new approach to health, spirituality, and community. And I remember in my membership, the private group, we were talking about, I told them, I said, everything's going to crumble. Like I
Yes.
literally could see
Yep.
all of what we know as structures, which would be our health system, our banking, our
Mhm.
school, our governments, our everything,
Yep.
churches. It was, and I could just see it all crumbling, like it has
Yep.
to be rebuilt.
Mhm.
And so I was looking back at it the other day and I'm like, the two key phrases that I've heard were radical responsibility and breaking the dysfunctional human condition. And those are two phrases that my guides have been using for months.
Mhm.
And I think it's because we have to open our eyes. And so there was going to be, they said, an awakening to divine truth,
Mhm.
understanding and honoring our own emotions and boundaries, and then understanding what the collective mirror is. And that's what we're talking about right now is we're seeing in the world what's happening. And so things that are triggering you, if you're being triggered on Facebook or if you're being triggered on YouTube or whatever, Instagram, wherever it is, or somebody in your street or in the grocery store, if they're triggering you, that's actually a place for you to have some growth if you're open to it. And if you're willing to see things with 2020 vision, meaning that you'll get past your own opinions
Yes.
and actually just say, okay, well, let's just look at this, right? Like, let's just look at the whole thing of it and just see am I just stuck in my own, this is how things should be?
Mhm.
Am I refusing to see truth? Like there's so many things happening. And I feel like this experience is showing up for everybody. The interesting thing is too, a lot of my clients, what they're saying is just like you were talking about with the mom not taking her kids back to school, they're reevaluating what their values are and what they
That
really want in life. And I think being forced into not having an income is going to show people where they can adjust their finances,
mhm.
because
Well,
maybe somebody's working and they don't want to. Maybe they want to be the stay-at-home mom or the stay-at-home dad, and they're realizing they can survive on one income.
Yeah, it's really looking at the relationship versus materialism is just one idea, but it is definitely, I think my number one card I want to let you know that I've been getting all of April, and already I know it's going to be seeing it in May, is out with goodbye to the old, hello to the new. So we are letting go, or what you call your crumbling of everything, but it's the real reevaluation. And I want to remind people, do it with love and no shame, blame, and really see that you just need to dig deeper in the whys of it all. And I do believe that there is a servicing that if they didn't want to, say, so-called run that restaurant or do that job, that they're seeing things in a different way, that this is actually giving them the open doorway to do the change that they never had the courage to do before.
Right,
So
I
I
agree.
some of that, and that's not true for everyone, but it could be true for, maybe a husband and wife, and the guy should have been retiring due to his health. His wife's been wanting him to do that. And now this is the time that he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to be forced to retire, but he's recontemplating it. Yes.
Right, right. Well, and reevaluating. There was a bunch of words like that. Reevaluating, restructuring, relearning, reclaiming, like all of those words came up. So I'm sorry, what?
It sounds like we're Mercury in retro, which is all those
Yeah, yeah.
not coming until
But for
like
the entire year.
yeah, but it feels like the entire year that we're dealing with this communication planet that's just slowing everyone down. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I do know that we're I want to say it's not just collectively, but it's individually. And when we do the changes individually, then we are mirroring and wanting to pull more people to us that has the same, I guess, mission, goals, drive for us. And I
Mhm.
do see that we are going to do major shifts and changes in the world. But like what you said, everybody needs to learn patience during this time.
Most definitely.
For patients like, what? I thought I had that. Well, I think everybody's reevaluating that whole word of maybe I didn't have the patience like I thought I did. And we are re-looking at what do I believe in and what do I not believe in and what do I need to change? Yeah. And I think that when we are getting back to so-called normal, there's not going to be the same normal ever again. But I think we are relishing and looking at the ideas of what a hug means and the connection with family get-togethers, because I'm always doing that family get-together, and I missed it on Easter. That was that sadness that came through.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
idea that we are still going to have to wear our masks going around for protective, purposes. But I do see that there is going to be caution going forward with all of this. But yeah, I think you and I both have heard that there's more mutations, and I don't really want to always focus in the past and why it happened, but we can learn from the past. Like in the 2018, Spanish flu, outdoors and vitamin D and sunshine and happiness and feeling that goodness in your heart, meditations, all of that is really good for the body, but
Yeah.
maybe they never had time to do it. So I highly suggest getting a plan or a schedule. I think I listened to something this morning, and I don't know if you listened to Marie Forleo, who wrote the book Everything's Figure Outable, but she had a connection with that 5 o'clock in the morning hour, that if people would wake up in the morning and actually utilize their time, not on Facebook, excuse me, I don't mean to say not against, Facebook or YouTube or things like that, but not getting plugged into our technology, but actually taking care of themselves, thinking
Mhm.
about created outlet. And that's another thing that I think Lee Harris said, that we're going to be seeing in our 2020 vision, a way of us being more creative. And I think it's thinking outside the box, like what you said, with the finances.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
join.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, and I think it's all of those things. Like, I think the other thing I want to bring up and talk about, and we'll just do it now because I feel like that's what I'm being guided to do, is that everybody's experiencing this differently.
Yes.
So, um, and so for those of us that are doing well, the one thing that I want to say is if you feel like this is, you're just kind of watching it happen and not really being affected, because I kind of feel that way. And I realized the other day I was almost feeling guilty that I wasn't in the drama trauma of it. But I'm like, wait a minute, I have busted my butt to do the work, the internal work. And it's so funny because I don't talk about shadow work very often, especially like in a live setting or in whatever. But when I do the work with my private clients, that's one thing that we really work on, is getting into the shadow work. You can call it whatever. There's like all different terms for it: shadow work, inner child, wounded healing, like whatever it is. There's all those different words for what it is. But looking at the things within ourselves that we need to bring light to, that we need to release, that we need to forgive, that we need to heal, right? All of those things. And so if you're struggling through right now, if things are really hard for you, then reach out. That means it's time for you to do the work. If things are triggering you over and over, it's time for you to take responsibility for, why is this upsetting me? And how can I really start to create the life that I want? Because that's the other thing too, is my guides were talking a few months before this happened, instant manifestation. And I'm seeing that in my life. And so you can, again, you can manifest, just like we said at the beginning, you can manifest good or bad. It's really determining where you are internally and where you're focusing. Because if you're focusing on all the negative and the drama and the stuff like that on your social media, you're going to get drug into that vibration. If you're not, and I'm one of those, get up, get my coffee, do a little scrolling just to see. But I also, after that is my time that I set myself for my day, which is when I do my meditation and, whatever. And so it's like, I kind of wake up a little bit and see what's going on. And then I reset, get my day started, and then go from there.
I do the opposite. I have to do my meditation, then I can
First,
go.
and then get up. And most people do.
Different
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, most people do. And so you've got to know where you're at and where your vibration is, so that you know what's good for you and what isn't, which is exactly what we were talking about in the challenge the last couple of days. And neither of it's right or wrong, right? Like me doing my coffee and Facebook before meditation is not wrong, and you doing your meditation before Facebook isn't wrong. It's just whatever works individually for each person. But I think the main thing is tuning into, this whole situation has either forced or allowed, depending on how you're looking at it, everybody to just stop running around so much and stop being so in the car, you know what I mean? Like always going, because that's one of the things that I see that was part of the human dysfunction, was running around all the time.
Running away from all the things they needed to dig deeper in to deal with.
Into,
I both help everybody go through, or give
yeah,
another viewpoint of it, because you're more of the life coach, and I just kind of throw out the connections with their loved ones on the other side, or connections with, this is what I see happening, this is what you're going through, and I guess having them see what, because many times, like, should I do A or B? And I'm like, I can't make that decision for you, but I can show you a little bit on which avenue would be maybe best for you.
yeah,
But always up to an individual, like what you said, everybody's going through things differently. Because I see my sister who does salon, and she hasn't been able to
yeah,
do her hair, but she's had so much more time with her grandchildren. She's like, oh my gosh, I would have never had this much time. Being part of their lives
right,
had to take this total time off. And I know
right.
that applied for the money, and it's all going to come back. But she lives in the Boulder County of Colorado, and they're extending their lockdown till May 8th, at least, maybe longer.
Mhm. Um,
Thank you for just helping everybody to understand that it is so differently for everyone, but yet as humanity, we have a heart that this is one event that is happening worldwide. It's just not in the United States. And that's what makes it so
everywhere.
profound of that
Mhm.
pandemic, of what we want to call, yes, it's the virus, and we got to be aware of that. Like, we need to be aware, and it's the looking at our health, and looking at that self-care of the health avenue that a lot of people ignored in their life, and now they're looking at it so importantly. The second one is that pandemic of fear, and we do, like
Yes.
that, I just can't get jumping into the fear. And when it first happened, it was like our whole world just shifted from us walking around doing everything we want to total, lockdown, and into the major fears of what's coming next and OMG moments. And we do know that we can choose to be in fear, or we can work through and dig deeper of that fear. I think there was a third pandemic, and I can't remember, that somebody described it as a pandemic of I think they said a learning curve. And I know I'm not using the words right of this person that I listened to, of energy, but they said, when we are in a crisis mode, we have to become more creative. And it's like a woman that changes from no children to a child. Oh my gosh, I've got to like figure out how I can run on empty and very little sleep and all. And what's a shower? It's been 3 days. Oh my gosh, like can I get in with this new little baby that just wants to eat, poop, and cry. So we see that transformation of thinking outside the box. But when you are forced with that cut off of I don't have a job, you've got to shift into learning more or being more creative. But I want to call it the pandemic of when our endorphins get into a fear mode. It is known through psychology that we do fight or flight. And sometimes aspects of that is learning how to do things differently that might actually become better for us than what our normal, like you said, running in the car and racing and going and rush, rush, rush. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for allowing us not to rush and give Mother Earth some breathing space, is what I'd say.
right, right. Well,
Good.
and I think too, the one thing like I want to reiterate too is whichever way you're experiencing this whole situation is not right or wrong, but the fear is what is really important to me is if you're in fear, then you're not looking at the truth of the light because there's a spiritual war going on as well, right? Like that's
Yes.
the thing. We're here on this planet. There's duality, and what I was, and I wasn't quite figuring this out either. That my guides were saying a few months ago was that they kept saying it's like there's going to be two different realities, and I'm seeing that now because there's people who are like in miserable circumstances right now, and I feel like it's not over. And then like for most of the people that I know, it's like we're just kind of watching it all happen going, what is going, why are they freaking out? Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, I know that the COVID is a problem and I don't mean it like that because it's a real thing and definitely do what you need to do. I'm taking all this, I'm taking the vitamin D, the zinc, you know what I mean? Like everything to help with my immune system. So I'm not pretending like it's not there, but I'm also like, there's viruses and things out there all the time anyway. And so this is just a new one. That's the thing that's making it so fearful is, like the flu, people die of the flu all the time. People die of car accidents all the time, but we don't not go to the grocery store and we don't not drive anywhere. Right. But it's just that we're used to that. So this whole thing is because nobody knew how it was going to react. Nobody knew how fast it was going to spread. And that created all this panic and fear. But the one thing that my guides have been saying, and I almost feel like a broken record because they keep saying all is well in divine truth.
Yes,
So
I hear.
with that being said, yeah, I have to hold on to the fact that my faith is bigger than fear. And
Good.
I you just have to literally live by faith right now.
And that's really coming up a lot too for people having to dig deeper into whatever their faith is. And, whatever they have to hold on to that is helping them get through. We all know that Christianity is just a part of an aspect of the world. But whatever they believe in, whatever they connect with, whatever helps them get through on what I want to call a spiritual level is really what people are searching into. But there is definitely a spiritual awakening going on in the world of people collectively reaching out and maybe reaching out in a different way, in a sense that we do still need humanity to connect, to move forward. And for all of those that have just been hiding and not thinking that there's not humanity for you, I guide them to reach out, whether it's to you, to me, to anybody in the community, because there are many, many communities. I mean, I just think of even where you live or where I live, that there are people helping each other out. I mean, I'm seeing
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
grocery store. I'm seeing that. In fact, when I went through Starbucks which is like a self-care thing, and
Hmm.
wow. So I went through it and they said it was a chain of 35 cars that everybody had paid it forward. So my
Oh,
Starbucks taken care of and I took care of the person behind me. So I'm seeing things that I don't normally see. That
right.
is what I want to call the plus, the positive, the spiritual, the let's take care of others in this world. And I know that that's not the first time that I went through Starbucks. I think I went through maybe end of March and the same thing had happened. So I
Yeah.
was really of that, what I want to call pay it forward kind of idea. And I know that we've been in a recession before. I mean, I'm old enough to have been through 3 or 4 of them, that we will get through this. It's not going to be as easy. There are more people, there's more, activities and shifts and changes in finances. But I do know that there's a lot of people helping each other out. And I think it's that, what I want to call compassion for others, that
Mhm.
like you and I are, everything's going to be okay. That's what I've been told. My mantra is I'm blessed to be busy, and I hold on to that. But I am also aware of many others that are going through those transitions, and my heart goes out to them. But I always know it's for a reason for them to grow, a lesson
Yeah.
learned.
The one thing that I feel like is really interesting now, I love to cook. So that for me, this is like, honestly, this whole experience for me, other than like really, I mean, I kind of limit how much I go to the store anyway, just because
Mhm.
we grew up in a small town. We only went to the big store. Like you went to the Sam's Club once a month, you know what I mean? And then you just kind of picked up the little things. So I was kind of already used to that. Now living in the fifth wheel, it's a little bit different because I can't stock up the same way. But I didn't really go to the store all the time anyway. So for me, I really do feel like not a lot has changed because I really only went to the grocery store maybe once a week anyway. The only thing that's different is like I can't get 2 loaves of bread now because it's limited. So I actually have to go to the store more now than when I was because of some of the things it's limited. And I'm like, I mean, not really. I've only been going about once every 2 weeks, um, but cooking, that's one thing that I've seen people do. And like some of the old recipes are coming back. Like I shared a recipe for my Irish soda bread that's just an easy, quick bread. Did you try it?
I did. It's so good.
So good.
You
And it's so easy and you don't need yeast and you don't need a lot of ingredients. And so like just some of the simple pleasures of actually, I think it's forcing people to cook at home, I would love to know like how people are experiencing that, if they're loving it or if they're hating it. And I will say that I'm not gonna lie, it would be not like I'm getting to the point now, it's been 2 months and I'm like, it would really be nice to just go out for dinner and have a nice dinner somewhere. But we didn't do that we probably did it a little bit more often than we should have like a year ago because we were footloose and fancy free when we were to the fifth wheel. But like it's again, and plus I'm in a small town, so there's only so many places to go. So it's really been interesting, but I would love to see like how many people are maybe for the first time discovering that they like to cook or discovering that, like or taking time to do things in their house or you know what I mean? Just things like that that people are discovering about themselves that maybe they didn't know. Maybe this is the first time they're going to plant a garden, right? So
Right. I've definitely done more gardening. I've definitely done more cooking. And I want to say it's been like, when we always feel like when it rains, it pours sometimes. Everything on my house has been breaking at those same times. So I'm doing lots of house repairs. Did I ask for that? No, but is it a good timing? Yes, because I'm more on the
it's
home,
good. I was going to say, if
you
it's
know,
going to happen.
we're realizing, I guess, the simple pleasures of life that we
Mhm.
may have forgotten is what I want to say. I mean,
Yeah.
doing a jigsaw puzzle, and I know that I've meditated more, I think gotten in nature more, and probably been writing more. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Um, I wanted to bring up too, the one thing that I will tell you my guides are very clear on is that there's light at the end of the tunnel and like I can feel what it's going to feel like on the other side of this and it's amazing. So we just have to have the stamina and I think this is where faith comes in, having that stamina to really understand who we are, what we want in life and knowing that when we get to the other side it's going to be okay. Like it feels so good on the other side, but it's okay to be a little scared going through this if that's what you're feeling. It's okay to you know it's okay to have those moments like ebb and flow, right? Like you may get irritated and upset sometimes, but if you can just process through it. But the one thing that I think is the most important right now is to actually acknowledge the emotions that we're having because I think that's a lot of also why people stay busy because they don't realize they don't have time to really sit with their emotions when they're busy all the time, right? Because you're so busy, you don't know what you're doing. And it's really giving us a time to reevaluate everything and look at the emotions that we're having and it's time for growth. Like that's the other thing too is there's a lot of people awakening who probably never have experienced some of the things that they're experiencing and now they're searching. And so just so whoever's listening, if that's you, like reach out. Kris and I both are here. Ask questions. The Embodied Grace Facebook community is a great place. You can ask whatever questions you want in there. Nothing's off the table. As long as you're not being mean to somebody else, you can ask whatever you want. So,
And I do angel readings by Kris.com. Angel readings by
yeah,
Kris, spelled with a K, is my site. You can go and get my number and request a reading. I wanted to, if I could interject here,
yeah.
just from May on out, we're going to have a lot of like raining down of ideas coming into us. And this is all about, I'm going to read a little quote that I got sent to me. And it's called, "The life you've been living has outgrown its form," which we've talked about.
Mm,
Form must die so the new energy can be released in a new form. Positive growth may involve the loss of something or someone you have a deep connection to, so that you can retrieve that within your own personal self. You will become stronger for this. And sorry, I was like trying to look down and read it, but I know we're going through this letting go of the old. And I know that whether it's the death of the old part of us or the old ways of beings or a loved one around us, because I know there's been a lot going on, that is a wake-up call for us to relish life, to know that life is so much more than what we had been doing before. So I just
mm,
wanted to bring that in, but I think that searching and putting on your calendar the little things you do, keeping a set schedule, not just, I don't know, I think of the movie Practical Magic, where after her husband died, she just hides under the bed covers for 2 months. That's not helping anybody out. You might need to do it for a day or two. Grieving has its steps to go through. But I wanted to reach out and say, we will get back to being a stronger force in humanity. And it is a big lesson that we're going through. But I could probably talk to anybody 2 months ago or even in January. Do you like what's going on in the world? They're like, no, I don't like this. I don't like that. I want to change this. I want to change that. So we, in our mass thoughts of consciousness, has
collective.
created these changes. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at individuals saying, in a bigger perspective or maybe a cosmos, that, hey, we brought this on. We
Yeah.
chose to be here on earth to go through this. And any loved ones that chose to leave during this time, or they did leave, they are helping us on the other side still work through what we need to go through as
Yeah.
humanity. So I
Yeah. I
wanted to
think
bring
that too.
that sort of spiritual idea up because I have talked to a lot of people that have said, this is a time that is very different, that we can't go to a funeral, that we can't be there in the hospital, that we can't be.
That's really strange for
Bring that
sure.
up, that I know that their angels, their guides, their loved ones from the other side are with them and taking care of them. So if you've lost anybody, this going on to YouTube, know that the angelic realm has taken care of your loved ones.
Yeah.
So please be, heartfelt with that.
Yeah. That's a great point to have too, is that anybody that has experienced loss or lost somebody, the one thing that I can say, I've helped a couple people transition over, and it is the most beautiful thing. Like, so, I mean, I was honored to actually be a part of a couple of them. So it was definitely amazing. I think I talk about it in my book, the last book that I put out, but I feel like my guides are talking to my head has been itching. I don't know if you've seen that a couple times. I'm like, okay, what
Yes,
are they wanting me to talk about now? Because they're trying to get my attention and I'm trying to just flow with it. I think the big thing that they want us all to know that we all have guides and angels and that they're
yes,
available to all of us. And
just
so your spiritual guides and your team, especially like if this is new. Well, okay, so a couple things they're saying. Those of you that have already been doing this, don't be surprised if new guides come in and then
yes,
they feel a little different. So trust that. And then the other thing is for those of you, if this is new, um, if you're just kind of awakening or just starting to like all of a sudden have experiences, again, reach out to us because we could
yes.
both help you with that. So, and you can
Well,
find Kris in the community
share
too,
with
right?
them, share with them that we hear, see, feel, and know things.
Oh
Both
yeah,
of us.
yeah. All the Clairs. Yeah.
Players.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So everybody has different gifts and everybody's going to experience it differently. Um, but just trust whatever's showing up for you and know that you can reach out and that it's safe to do so too. I think that what do you have coming through?
they just want me to remind everybody that you're not alone in the world, and that you do have your guides, your angels, your connections, your loved ones from the other side. And I mean, I think we could get into that. When you see like 3 numbers in a row, that's confirmations. When you see little feathers or pennies on the ground, that's confirmations. When you're hearing the song over and over again, listen to those words, those are confirmations. I just, when you have little animals that come in and around you, like little squirrels coming around all the time, those are always little messages. Birds and butterflies and dragonflies, those are all messages. And sometimes we have always been so busy, we don't recognize the little things, the loved, I want to say the clues that others are giving us to know that we're not alone in this world. So
I love that. I'm sorry if that was distracting, but my computer is almost dead, so I had to plug it in. Really.
okay, plugged in.
I'm plugged in. We're good.
No, I mean, for you and I, we've been at doing this for such a long time. For so many people, they are waking up. They're like, what, you know, they may be going into anxiety. They may be feeling like they're hearing things or they're seeing things. I mean, I've seen auras for a lot of years, just of a knowing thing. I just trust it. But it's for those that don't trust it. Start baby stepping into the trusting of what you see. Your dreams may be more vivid during this year. It's in the 20 vision. I've had lots of dreams, and you're also going to be having dreams of your old or your past, to integrate it or to let it go. I think we've all been having more time on the home front, so we're clearing the clutter. Believe it or not, clearing the clutter allows you to have more space to bring in something new in your life, whether that be of more material things or just more in a spiritual level or more in a learning or a mental level. Mm-hmm. It truly is what I want to call that body, mind, spirit connection. And we have to remind ourselves that we all have that spiritual part. And if you don't know where to go or who to see, you know, I'm not saying that we need to promote ourselves, but whoever is comfortable for you in your community, in your area. I know there was a lady that said, I think a client of mine in Florida that said, I think I would like to do some regression work. I think I still have some childhood issues. And that could be done. You know, I think that's better in person than on the phone. Doesn't have to be that way, but I encourage her to look in her area. And I also had 3 or 4 different friends that did other you know, spiritual work in that area that I guided her to. So just helping everybody to do the wake up of where they're feeling less fear, more, I guess, I don't want to say more in control, but just more at ease and finding the joy in life. Yeah.
No,
What
I totally like, well,
what
the
else?
other thing too that I've been feeling a lot is, I know that it sounds so cliche to say go with the flow and following spirit, to just, you know what I mean? But it's so true. Like the more you can just kind of relax into taking things one step at a time and not getting too much into tizzy. If you feel yourself getting too much into anxiety, just take a step back for a minute and just, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. Um,
Deep breathing, deep breathing.
Deep breathing a lot. Yeah. Um,
Because some of the things you can do is music, physical movement. Some people call it exercise. I like to call it physical movement, dance, connect, sleep. Sometimes you just need to sleep on it. Cat naps, beauty rest, the getting near water, the bubble baths, the drinking more water, staying hydrated is a lot of what we need to do. A lot of this is self-care, music, deep breathing, and certainly if you have a lot of anxiety, the tapping definitely works. I made a community around
yeah, for some people. And again, it's whatever works for you.
right. But those are
Yeah.
just some things. Attitude of gratitude, you know, writing things.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so what my guides are saying is that people are saying, well, will we return to normal? And my guides are saying this won't be normal. There we won't be returning to what you knew as normal. There will become a new normal, and it will actually be better. And they're saying that they're showing me the idea of like when your hands are so full, like if you're holding something and you're refusing to let go, you have no room to open up for more. So they're saying let go of all of the things that are weighing you down so that you can be willing to receive what's new. Like that's really what they were saying. It's just saying that we aren't going to return to normal, but there's no need for fear in that it's actually going to be, the new normal will be better.
That's what I'm hearing. And I want to like back you up on that because that's all I've been hearing is a better normal. And it's not going to be ever the way it was before, but do we really want it the way it was before? No, we
Yeah.
don't. So our thoughts are creating the new reality. There's still the unknown, and of course, we always have fear when we don't have control. And we're in the unknown, and we want to do it a perfect way. But it's going to be humanity working together for a better for all. And I do know that. But the normal could be looking a little different, but it doesn't mean that it's bad or it's worse.
Right.
We have to keep those positive thoughts going up. And I think it will help if everybody really says, what do I want what do I want for my new normal? And as everybody's kind of creating their own individual path for that normality, we're going to automatically be collaborated in team groups. I mean, if we want to learn something, we surround ourselves with those that know it. I always think of people that want to learn golf, then they're going to be out there with other people that are playing golf, and they're going to be connecting with who are our golf stars, in the world, or if they want to be better at football or better at music, or even just better at daycare or a better teacher. We're always having to step into that team or that collaboration. And I see a lot more of that happening towards the end of the year than I do right now, because we're just trying to formulate that. And you're like, well, how can we formulate in groups when we can't be in groups? We can do it through communication. We can still learn things. I know this whole video thing is blowing up, but it's not a bad thing if we're learning from it.
Right, right. Most definitely. Well, I think we've been on for a while. I don't know how long we've actually been on, but we probably should wrap it up
No,
because I'm like, I just looked up and it's 11:45. I don't know how that happened.
yeah. Oh, I thank you so much.
So yeah,
for
thanks again for coming on and chatting with me today. And if anybody's catching us live, great. I'm glad you were here. And if you're seeing the replay, if you want to get in touch with either me or Kris, just reach out to me on my Facebook and I'll make sure that I get you all of Kris's information. And I will try to post it below once I see how this posts, because I'm not sure how it works on YouTube Live.
Find something new.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Kris, for everything. And I will talk to you soon. Okay.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
everybody. Thanks for joining.